to another vlog. Today we are tackling probably a really big topic and a very lengthy one at that, and it is all the books that I have read in the first 6 months of 2026. So basically everything I read from January to June we're gonna talk about in this vlog. We've got our latte. Y'all go get yourself a beverage of your choice, sit down, get comfortable, because we've got a lot of books to get through, because surprisingly I actually read a lot. I didn't realize that until I was looking through my list. So, also, this is my very first time making a sea salt honey latte. Beautiful. So the first thing that I feel like I need to preface is that I use Goodreads to keep up with all of my reading. So for those of you who don't know, Goodreads is an app, super helpful. I found it a couple years ago, and it has been a fantastic way for me to keep track of what I want to read, what I have read, set goals for myself, keep track of the books that, like, if I hear about a book, I can type it in and add it to my want to read list, all the good things, okay? So first of all, let's take a look at my 2026 reading goal. Okay, so my reading goal this year was to read 36 books total. My logic with this was 3 books a month. I figured I would read at least 1 a month with the kids, and then I would read 2 on my own. Well, it is currently mid-July. It is July 16th, and I have read 45 books. So, we've surpassed the goal, and we still have 6 months of the year to go. So that being said though, let me explain. So, you know, you can obviously like treat this as you will. I include audiobooks, I count chapter books that I've read with the kids, and then books that I'm reading on my own. So it's kind of like a double, like triple whammy on my end. But that's how I've gotten through so many books this year so far. Okay, we're scrolling back on our read list because I don't remember everything I've read. Some of these books I'm like, oh my gosh, I read that this year. Like, that feels so long ago. Okay, so the first one I borrowed from the library, it's called Wild Dark Shore, and I really enjoyed this book. I remember it feeling very like ABC Lost, Dharma Initiative vibes. It actually is one that I do still think about, so it's definitely kind of a thought-provoking book, just kind of really emphasizing our mortality and basically like, what do we do with our lives? And one of the things that it said that really has stuck with me is, you know, they were having some like health struggles or whatever, and you know, serious injuries were occurring basically like repetitively, and the main character kept saying like, it's just a body, it's just a body. And I was like, that's a really good perspective, because like as a Christian, obviously, like we are told that like this body is temporary, but I don't know, there's just something about the way that the book said it that really made it click for me. So that stuck out. Okay, so Wild Dark Shore was the very first book I read in 2026. Great book. I did rate it 4 stars. So it was one of those books I remember thinking like, I like I like the book. I like the way it's written. I will recommend the book, but I don't need to own it. 5 stars is the like, I love it. I'll recommend it. I'll read it again. I want to own it. Like, that's 5 stars for me. So I remember this book being good, but I remember thinking I don't have to own this book. Okay, then I read 2 books with the kids back to back. We read The One and Only Ivan, which I rated as 3 stars because I was like, this book got a ton of hype, and I don't think it was that fantastic. 6 months later, my kids are still talking about this book. They, on their own, have listened to, I think, the rest of the series, like The One and Only Ruby, The One and Only Family. My 9-year-old raves about The One and Only Family, about how like Ivan like got married and they had a baby and all those sorts of things. So I do remember it being very intriguing, and I remember liking it, but I remember being just kind of like, that was a one and done. Like, I don't need to get back into that. Okay, the next book I read with the kids was Caddy Woodlawn, and I rated this 2 stars because it felt like a Little House on the Prairie wannabe. But I think it's just because I love Little House on the Prairie so much that the Caddy Woodlawn, I was like, I mean, she's cute, but if I want to read a book in that time period, I'm going to read Little House on the Prairie. I don't know. I don't really remember much about it. I just remember not really loving it. Okay, the next book that I read was The Librarian Spy. I rated this book 3 stars, and I do remember this book being way more intense than I thought it was gonna be. It was a really intense book. I remember like it was not a page turner, so it was really hard for me to get through. You do eventually become attached to the characters, but I also was just so like, I think I was just overwhelmed with how intense it was. And I just, it just wasn't like moving quickly for me, so it took me a while to get through it. But I did rate that one 3 stars. Another one I rated 3 stars was Remaining You While Raising Them. It was a book I read with a group of friends, and it was a good book. I remember it having some really good nuggets in there. It's a self-help book, and the whole point is how to remain like who you are while raising children. So anyway, some good nuggets. Again, not one that I needed to own, but it was, if that's something that you're looking for, I would recommend it. Okay, then I do own this book, To All the Boys I Loved Before. This was a book that was on my Valentine's to be read list. One of my best friends, like, this is one of her favorite books, so she recommended it to me. I think I got this at the thrift store for like $1, so I was pretty pumped about that. I listened to this one mostly on audio, but I did finish like by reading the actual pages. And this was a really cute story. It was pretty funny. I did enjoy it. I rated it 4 stars. I say cute story and easy to read. I'm curious how this all plays out, and the sequels are on my to be read list because yeah, like there are sequels to this. They do kind of leave it on a cliffhanger and you're just like, what the heck? So I do still need to read the sequels. I haven't done that yet, but anyway. So this one was on my Valentine's TBR. This one was also on my Valentine's TBR, and this is one of my favorite books. Ever is a very strong word, so I'm not gonna say ever, but it definitely is one of those books. Like, I rated it, it is my second favorite Lynn Painter book, so that says something. I rated it 5 stars. Obviously I already own it, but I read it as a library copy. So I read the library copy and then I bought the book because I loved it so much. But anyway, I rated this one 5 stars, and I did say that I will probably be reading this every year on Valentine's Day because I'm not a super Valentine's Day person, but I do like to have, I don't know, this book was just like, no, we're gonna read this every year, and this is gonna be your thing that's like for you. So, also shout out, the main character has the same birthday as me. I was like, okay, now we have to get the book. But this book is fantastic because it's essentially Groundhog Day, but it's on Valentine's Day, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty confident it's on Valentine's Day. Anyway, so this is like a Groundhog Day style where like she relives the same day over and over and over again. And it's actually kind of funny because there's a plot twist. Like, you think like, oh, well, this day is definitely gonna like start over, and then it doesn't. And so all the choices that she just made are now permanent, and you're like, oh my gosh. So anyway, I love this book. Okay, that was a good one. All right, then with the kids, I read My Side of the Mountain. That was an audiobook. I rated it 3 stars. It was really interesting, very outdoorsy. The kids were pretty invested. I was indifferent, but it was a good book to like have said that I read, because I feel like I've heard it come up in a lot of like conversations, or I've even heard it in a couple movies lately, and I was like, oh my gosh, I know that book. So that's pretty great. All right, the next book I read was Recursion. I actually did own this book. This was a book I bought for my husband for Christmas. He started reading it and he was like, I'm not interested in this, but I was really interested in the storyline of what I had heard about it. So I did read it. I actually gave my copy away like just a couple days ago. I gave my copy away, and my note here in Goodreads was, I said it wasn't my style. I finished it to figure out what the hype was. Felt like a common movie and story, just different twists, but the ending was a great wrap up. I get why some people have like the thing that really drew me to this book was a lot of people were saying it was like a 6-star book, and I was like, okay. And the plot was really interesting to me, so I was like, well, this is gonna sound fantastic. But then, like I said, like, it felt like a really common story. It just had different twists in it, and the twists weren't that incredible. So it's like, I get why people put it as a 6-star book, but it just wasn't my style. So I rated that one 3 stars. Next book I read was Just Friends. I loved this book. I bought this book the day before my birthday because it came out the day before my birthday. And I just felt like, so this author is actually a YouTuber. She's a book YouTuber that I follow. She turned me on to a lot of books when I was at the beginning of my reading journey. And so I was like, well, yes, I love her as a person. And then I also was really curious by the plot and the storyline. It just sounds so cute. And it came out a day before my birthday. So it just felt like it was meant to be. So bought the book, cute cover stuff. I don't remember what they call these things. It'll come to me later. Anyway, but I read this book the day before my birthday, on my birthday, and I finished it the day after my birthday. So it took me 3 days to read this book. So stinking cute, like a beach read for sure. One of my favorites. I deemed it 5 stars. A lot of people on the internet do not feel that way, and I don't even really care. It's her very first book, so of course, like if I wanted to be nitpicky, I totally could have been nitpicky, but I didn't want to be. Like I wanted to just enjoy the book for what it was. I loved the story so much. I loved the characters, and so like I'm definitely reading this book again. Perfect beach read. So for my Goodreads comment, I said, such a cute book, the perfect casual beach read, but also weighty enough to walk away like, wow. I was caught off guard by how heavily grief was talked about in the story, but it was done so tastefully, and as someone in grief, I appreciated it. 5 stars because I will be recommending and rereading it. So, okay. Oh my gosh, I forgot about these. Okay, I'm so stinking excited. All right, okay, this I read over my birthday. Then I had a little birthday gathering with some friends, and we went to a bookstore. One of the places we went to was a bookstore. And my friend who had recommended this book to me pointed out a book/book series in the bookstore, and it's called The Lunar Chronicles. And she explains like super high altitude what this series is about, and I was like, that sounds interesting. So I put it on my to be read list. Okay. In the middle of all of this, that same friend's family gifted me a Kindle for my birthday. Friendship goals. They gifted me a Kindle for my birthday. And side note on the Kindle, I was debating a Kindle for months, like a very, very, very long time, because I love books. I love holding a book. I love turning the pages. I love seeing how much more I have to read. I like the way it aesthetically looks. I like that my kids see me reading an actual book. So I wasn't all hyped about a Kindle. However, I was also starting to think, what is the next step in my reading journey? And for some reason, the first thing that kept coming to my mind was, it's time to get a Kindle. So I added it to my wish list, and my friends bought it for me. So, all that to say, this friend who recommended All the Boys You Loved Before and gifted me the Kindle recommends the Lunar Chronicles series. So it was the first book that I read on my Kindle is Cinder, and I was so obsessed with it that I also got Scarlet, which is the second one. And then it's coming down the line here, but I literally went boom, 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 boom. Like I read all 4 books back to back. Okay, so let's start with Cinder, okay, because she needs a moment for herself. Okay, Cinder was easily a 6-star book. It was a captivating story, deep character, creative imagery, and the cliffhanger really got me in this first book. So I super quickly went on to Scarlet. I loved Scarlet. I don't know what it is about her. I think it's because she's so feisty. But I freaking loved Scarlet. And then we moved on to Cress. I said another flawless addition in the series. A lot of people in the Lunar Chronicles fan world were saying that Cress was their absolute favorite book out of the whole series. I hadn't read, the 4th one yet, but up to that point, I was like, I get why it's people's favorite, because everyone is starting to come together. It's very Avenger style. It's like you kind of get everybody's individual stories and their backstory, but now in Cress, we're also starting to come together and work together, and that was really cool. But then I did finish with Winter, and that was my favorite, and I think it was it was honestly my favorite because of just how everything wrapped up. It felt like a movie the entire time. Like, it was just so intense. There was a lot of action. You know, the relationships like really developed and everything. It just, I don't know. I cannot tell you which book out of those 4 were my favorite. It's just, I just loved them all. But if I had to pick one, I'd probably pick Winter because everybody is in that book. So that's probably what I would pick. I will say with Winter, my only complaint is that I wish that I just wish some things in the ending were a little bit more robust. It just felt like it kind of was like, okay, it's ended. I'm like, that was a lot of build up for it to just be done. So anyway, that was my only complaint, but great book. I want to own the whole series, like book, whole series. So when I have some extra spending money, I totally am going to be getting the whole series. They have a couple like spin-offs with some of the characters, I think, or like backstories of like the villain or something like that. And I'm going to read those in the fall because they're just giving fall vibes. So we're going to come back and I'm really excited to just revisit my friends. I remember when Winter ended, I was like I literally had a hard time getting into another book because I missed my friends is how I said it. If you know, you know. You become like emotionally attached to these characters, especially when it's a series. And Winter was like 800 pages. Like, these were huge books. So I missed my. During my Lunar Chronicles escapade, we did read a couple side books. So with my book club, I read Raising Boys to Men, which I said is a must read for every mom who has a son. It was such a good book. Honestly, one I probably would own just so that I can like lend it out to people. But it really was a fantastic read. So I highly recommend if you have a boy, you need to read Raising Boys to Be Men. It was so, so good. Okay, then with the kids, we started reading the Indian in the Cupboard series, which is a childhood favorite of mine. And then we also listened to The Secret Garden. And I had never listened to The Secret Garden. So all I have to go off of is my memory of the movie when I was a kid. And it was like the 1984 version, I think, or 86 version, I don't know. It was in the 80s, I know that. And I would watch it at my grandma's house, and that was what I knew of the story. So when the book ended, I'm like, that's not it. That's not the end. And then I'm like Googling like what the movie, like comparing it to the book, and they were like, oh yes, in the movie, like they made these couple like adjustments or adaptations or whatever, and I was like, oh, well that makes sense. But anyway, then we watched the movie with the kids for like our spring movie, and the kids did really enjoy that. So, all right, another book I read was Conform, which I rated 4 stars. I said it was gripping, definitely could have read it in one sitting, and I was excited for the next book. Conform, it's a dystopian and post-apocalyptic, like many decades, hundreds of years later than now. And it was interesting. Of course, there's a love triangle, and I honestly can't pick a side. I picked a side, and then I started rethinking my side. And then I realized, you know what? I'm actually pretty, like, neutral. And I'm finding that that's safer for coming into this second book. Apparently, there's a prequel, and I haven't, like, it's on my TBR, but I haven't jumped to read it yet. So I think I might this autumn. But, yeah, I just was like, I don't know. It is a book you can read in one sitting. I obviously did not, but it was a pretty good book. That copy I borrowed from my sister-in-law, because my sister-in-law owned it. So I obviously give that back to her. Betting on You. This book I rated 4 stars. Most Lynn Painter books I have been rating 5 stars. This one I rated 4 stars, and let me tell you why. Okay, I'm not convinced I would read it again. That's literally the only issue. I think it's a great book. I obviously own it. I have no problem owning it. I owned this book actually before I read it, so I'm committed. But it was a really great story. It did feel a little different than what I had read of Lynn Painter up to that point, but in a good way. So it's like, I did really like it. It was full of surprises, and I did enjoy that, and it was just very witty. So, that was the only reason I rated it 4 stars, though otherwise I think it's a fantastic book, and Lynn Painter did a great job, as she always does. The next book I read, you guys, was The Women by Kristen Hanna. And if you know, you know, and if you don't know, I won't tell you a whole lot, but let me just give you these teasers. Okay, so the whole thing with the book is just wait. Just wait, okay? Just wait. Just wait. It gets better, it gets worse, it gets more horrific, it gets more beautiful. It's just wait. It's insane. It is an emotional roller coaster on so many freaking levels. This one was a little bit of like, I read this book in a lot of different forms. So I listened to half of it and then I read the other half on my Kindle. I rated it 4 stars. I think it's a fantastic read. I will recommend it. I don't necessarily have to own it because I don't plan on reading it again, is the conclusion that I came to. All right, then the next 2 books I read again on my Kindle. I just kind of I needed something light after the intensity of the women. I rated both of these books 3 stars, so just hang there with me. The first one is called Broken Flames. It's basically the idea of, with Avatar: The Last Airbender, that show, the whole idea is if Zuko and Katara actually got together. Of course, different characters, different names, all the things, but it's the idea that there are 4 elements. Some people are gifted with them, some people are not. What would happen if Katara and Zuko got together? And that essentially was this book. Like I said, it wasn't life-changing. It was just a really mindless, fun read because, you know, I love Zuko and Katara. Side note, I did want them to get together, so there's that. Nothing against Aang. I just love Zuko, and I thought it'd be cool if Zuko and Katara got together. They did not, but they did in this book, even though it's not actually them. It's fine. Okay, the next one I read is Maybe in Another Life. This plot was fascinating to me because it was about this one girl, and she was given a choice that evening, and it was either to stay with her high school ex-boyfriend, I guess, like they broke up right after high school, so it was either like to stay with him, like get reconnected and everything, or to go home with her best friend. And you know, she's in like her 30s now, so time has passed kind of thing, so it's like, do I stay and reconnect with my ex-boyfriend, or do I go home with my best friend? So this is the story, and then the story like splits, and you're alternating between each decision and each life that stemmed from that decision, and the night and day difference of what happens is incredible. And it just goes to really show like how, yes, some of our choices, like I can think of some choices in my life that were like massive choices where like this split would have been like, I can't even imagine, so different. But even like little choices sometimes like also make a big difference in the way our lives end up. So it was a really interesting plot and a really quick read, but like I said, I still just rate it 3 stars. Like I don't need to own it. I do not need to own it. I don't need to read it again. But I would recommend it. Like I think it's a good book. Then this is where we start a-rolling because the kids and I were studying Native Americans for homeschool, and I introduced them to the world of American Girl dolls. And if you know, you know. So we brought out Kaya and we listened to Kaya while we were driving. So we got through all 6 of Kaya's books, and my kids ate them up, loved them. So that's 6 books right there on my like summer reading. Can you tell what we've been doing on my like reading thing for the year? Okay, as for personal reads, I got into First and Forever. Again, a Kindle read, and one that I do need to own because I own pretty much all of Lynn Painter's books, and it was really good. It needs to be read again. I rated it 4.5 stars. I said charmingly different because they are adults, not teens. Like the characters, they're adults, and that just like created a whole new world for like, you know, because when you're teenagers, it's a little more limiting. Like you're in high school and you know, you got to do this and you got to do that or whatever, but these were like adults. So I said I liked that. I liked the storyline. It was punchy but impactful, and of course it was very cute and heartwarming. So First and Forever, I really, really loved that one. All right, then we get into June, and this is when I got into my summer TBR, which I'm still working through. The very first one I read was called The Summer of Yes. adorable book. Like, I really highly recommended it. I rated it 4 stars. Again, I don't think I need to own it, and I'm not sure if I'll read it again, but the story was so inspiring. It was so great. I wrote inspiring book, captivating, and laugh out loud witty. Like, I did really laugh. And then my husband even got slightly invested in the story because I would read like bits and pieces to him, and he got really invested. And it's such a wholesome book. So wholesome. Like, it's doesn't have anything inappropriate. They don't swear in it. Like, it's a wholesome story. I really liked it. Okay, then I did Every Summer After and One Golden Summer. So for both of them, I think they are both great summer reads. They are quick. The Every Summer After, I wrote a great summer read. I was very invested in the characters, and it was fun to watch them grow up. And I did have a hard time putting it down. As for One Golden Summer, I wrote the book was very on brand with the main character's character. So what happened is Every Summer After is about these 3 teenagers, and every year they are a year older, basically. This is a very, very quick synopsis. Or overview, I guess. But anyway, but then it ends when they're 30. And then one of the characters gets his own book, and that's One Golden Summer. So anyway, I enjoyed the full circle moments that he had, and the ending was perfect. And I'm really glad that character got his happy ending because he deserved it. It was really sweet. All right, with the kids, I read Ramona Quimby, age 8. I have never read that book before. It was gifted to my 8-year-old daughter for her birthday because she turned 8, and my friends gifted it to her. So we read it. Apparently it was like very popular in my day, and I never had heard of it, so I didn't read it. So I read it with the kids, and I was like, this is weird. But they thought it was funny. Then to continue with our American Girl situation, we started listening to Felicity because we were coming up on the 4th of July, and I just felt like Felicity gave, like, 4th of July vibes, I guess. So we have listened to the first 2. We're currently working on the 3rd one, but of course I counted those. Project Hail Mary, which that took me a while, but I also wasn't reading it exclusively for a while. It was kind of like a side book. So it took me a while to get through, but I did end up really loving it. I did rate it 4 stars. I will not be reading it again, but I will recommend it. So I really love Rocky and Ryland's characters. We did end up watching the movie, and I love the movie. I thought the movie was really great. They did like breeze through a couple things that I felt like were super important to the storyline. So I didn't love that, but overall I think the movie did really, really well. But I wrote down, I said, Rocky and Ryland's friendship is the best. Lots of science words, but worth pushing through. The ending was perfect. And then the very last book that I read in June is called Remarkably Bright Creatures. I called this the octopus book. What's really funny about this book, though, is I didn't know it, but it's actually based in Seattle, which is where I'm from. And so I knew where all the towns were that they were referring to. And so when they were like, oh, like, we're here and we got to drive all the way to this town, I was like, oh yeah, that's a drive. It's just sort of funny because my friend who read the book and recommended it to me, she is from down here in Alabama. So she didn't know where any of these places were. And I'm over here like, oh, I know that place. So anyway, I loved all the references. The mystery aspect was really stimulating because I wasn't expecting it to be a mystery, but the mystery part was actually really interesting. And it was just a really great story, and everyone gets their happy ending at the end of the book. So I did really, really like that. So that's all the books that I read for the first half of this year. It feels like a lot. Like when I'm rattling it off like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I forgot I read that book, or like, wow, that was a lot of books. So that's the thing. I do really love my Kindle. I will say that. The Kindle has definitely been an asset to my reading journey. I don't know though, like I love books, but I love my Kindle too. So there is some worth in having a Kindle, I think. I hope that helps you guys maybe come up with like your next read or some books to add to your TBR. But let me know in the comments what you've read from, I guess, my list. What did you enjoy? Do you disagree with any of my ratings? I'd love to hear it. I love talking about books, so let me know. And I'll catch you in the next one, kid.